So how did you meet Greg?
I knew about Greg about 19 years ago when I started trading. And at that time, I was accessing Daily FX, FXCM every day, just getting the news. And he was one of the analysts, and he actually moderated one of the forums there. And so I used to watch him, but I was trading different strategies at that time, or trying to. And so I didn't really end up following what he did because I didn't really understand him.
Yeah.
And then after a lot of failure, I found his YouTube videos, and I realized this guy really knows what he's doing, and he's making a lot of money in a short amount of time, and I need to learn from him. So yeah, basically connected with him through his YouTube videos, through his website, and decided I need to get mentored by him.
Yeah.
So that was our connection.
Good stuff. And the rest is history, as they say.
The rest is history.
So you trade Forex as well, is that right?
Yeah, I used to trade Forex, gold, oil, but these days I focus on Forex. And in New Zealand, we have a lot of restrictions with our brokers here. So we can't actually really trade any indices from our local brokers. It's very, very restricted. So I'd love to trade like the US 30. I'd love to trade other things, but I can't. So basically, all you need is Forex. I mean, there's enough money you don't need anything else.
Yeah.
So at the moment, just focusing there. Yeah, that's my specialty.
Good stuff. How long have you been trading?
About 19 years.
19 years. Okay. You're not on LinkedIn.
Okay. I was in international banking for a number of years when I was younger, but realized that banking wasn't really my niche. just the number, and got disillusioned with banking. And throughout that whole thing, I was, teaching myself Forex. Back in the days where retail trading was brand new to New Zealand, I was probably one of the first ones in New Zealand to actually do retail trading.
Okay.
And then left the bank and actually ended up working in construction for a number of years. Just a door opened up. And after that, still just self-educating, learning. And then finally things started to click together and got back into it. So I guess, yeah, that's a bit of a history. So yeah.
19 years.
Pretty simple.
You've been doing it now, you say?
19 years, yeah.
So what would you say is what would you say is your purpose? Why do you do this? What drives you, gets you up in the morning?
Really, well, trading for me is just a means. A lot of people, it's their life. For me, it's a means to be totally, financially free, self-sustained in what it can provide for my wealth. And it frees me up to really do the things that I really am passionate about. So for me, trading is about spending as least amount of time in the market as I can in order to actually free me up to do other things. So for me, I'm involved in a number of different charities. And so a lot of my time goes into that. And I have a lot of dreams of what I'm wanting to do with what my trading is providing me. So that includes working in third world countries, and a lot of charitable work there. So that's really my why for trading. But obviously the primary means is just to be totally, self-sustained in my finances and financially free, and not having to trust or worry about anyone else, telling me what to do with my time. Exactly. Being the master of my time, which is my life.
That's right. And it makes sense to get the money side of it out of the way, so you can do important things, as you say, clarity, and time, following your passion and what you want to do. Because a lot of people, they go to work to sometimes a job they don't like just to pay the bills, and trading, I guess, can give you the lifestyle that you particularly want. And I mean, have you coached people, or do you just trading for yourself? That would be that as well.
So I trade for myself. Actually, when I left the bank, I started. I missed this out. I started a small investment company, and so I was doing managed funds. So people would invest with me, and I'd just trade on their behalf. And at that time, I didn't have really good streamlined strategies. And so I decided just to put that on the shelf, and then I moved into construction. And so then after that, after I joined up with Greg, so now I'm working for Greg as well. So I'm involved in creating courses for his university, and so in the middle of that, teaching other people in the university.
Great. And you mentioned earlier on about you'd like to trade and then spend time doing other things. How much time would you say that you trade roughly a day?
Okay, so probably when I wake up, and it's sort of spread out because our time zone here is quite different. So at a minimum, I would check the markets every 2 hours to see what's happening, because there's certain setups that I look for. But consistently, I would trade probably 2.5 hours a day.
Oh, that's good. That's a good work.
Maximum, yeah.
Good. And so you mentioned that Greg is one of your mentors. Who else would you say inspires you? Because like some people, they say, oh, Warren Buffett, and a number of other people. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a trader, but who would you say inspires you?
There's a famous market wizard called Linda Bradford Reschke. And she was in the Chicago pits for a long time, and she blew a lot of accounts. But her dream was, no, I have to make this work. And so after she lost all her money on a losing trade, she maxed out her credit card and said, I'm going to make this work. She went back into the pits, and again, history tells her story as one of the greatest female traders we ever known. So she's someone who really inspired me in my early years. These days, people like Manny Cushman, very, very famous US real estate magnate, people coming from disadvantaged backgrounds who don't give up, who keep persevering regardless of the circumstances and push through to actually be successful. Those people really inspire me. As well as that, athletes who push the limits. I'm really inspired by people who do things that seem impossible to normal people. And it always shows that there's more available for every person. So those are the sort of people who inspire me, people who push through obstacles and difficulties regardless of what comes up, because they know there's something else on the other side.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, because when you look at Olympic athletes and triathlon people, and I do, funny enough, I've been watching a lot of the CrossFit. Some of the athletes there are just unbelievable. And you can learn a lot from athletes, whether they win or whether they lose. You'll learn a lot when you get into their mindset.
Yeah. Well, I was actually in Hawaii about 4 weeks ago for 2 months, and every day there we do CrossFit in the morning. And obviously I've been athletic all my life, been in the gym all my life, but I wanted to do CrossFit, but because of my travel, it wasn't possible to, just to be consistent. And so doing it every day for 2 months, I've never been as fit or strong in my life. And I never actually realized the potential of my body after doing what they do every single day. And since I've come back here, there's no way I'll do anything else. It's just absolutely unbelievable. What they do is incredible. And the way that they teach you to push your body, is just amazing.
Yeah, great. So I must admit, I've been taken part from watching Netflix. That's about as far as I got in CrossFit. But I will endeavor to get involved. So what would you say? So someone who wants to get started in Forex, what would you say some of the steps that they should follow when they begin their journey?
Well, absolutely. The first thing is to get an education. And I think, 95% of people, they see the glamour of trading and they watch a few videos and they try for themselves, and 90% of them will fail, probably 95%. So the first thing is to actually get a proper education, because a lot of people think it's, they treat it as a hobby or a way to get rich rather than a profession. And it's no different than getting an engineering degree.
Exactly.
Or a doctor's degree. So you have to get a proper education. And to do that, you have to be an apprentice. So you need someone to mentor you. And the reason why I failed for so many years is because I tried to work it out by myself without getting educated correctly, without having a mentor. So first thing is education. Second thing is a mentor who has experience, who has qualification, who has credibility with a proven strategy. So those are really the first things that any trader should look for.
Good stuff. And what would you say are some of the common challenges that people are likely to face when they follow their beginning steps? So just imagine, I can see obviously not having a mentor would be one common challenge, but apart from that, what can you see are some of the kind of challenges they will face?
Well, the biggest challenge, I think, is firstly emotions, because I mean, I remember when I made my first trade, I didn't know what I was doing. And it went up, 10 pips, and I was up $600. And I was jumping out of my skin with excitement, and the next minute it turns around 2 pips. And all of a sudden I'm on the floor freaking out because I don't know what's happening. So really, you're really mastering your emotions.
That's right.
And after that, learning to follow your plan. If you do have a plan, realizing that you have to stick to it. Sometimes the hardest thing is to stick to your plan and to be disciplined to follow it when things are going contrary to what your mind is saying. And so often it's learning to switch that off and go step by step with your plan, because the market will turn back if you have a proven strategy. So yeah, emotions, discipline. And I think the third thing would be persevering through times where, you do have losses, and realizing, hey, look, I have a proven strategy. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to bounce back tomorrow. And maybe the last thing would be, never getting into a dangerous position as far as your risk is concerned. So always keeping your risk minimal, and never trying to take revenge on the market after a losing trade.
That's right. That's right.
Which is very common.
Yeah. Great. So apart from, so you talk about risk management, and what are some of the best practices that people should have? Like as a beginner, you mentioned having your own plan. What are some of the best practice that you actually exercise?
Well, absolutely. If you have one open position, never ever risking more than 1% on any one trade. And if you have multiple positions, never risking more than 2% on the total amount of those trades. If you do that, you'll never break your account. When I started, I blew up about 8 or 9 accounts and lost about 50, 60 grand because I was trading far above any risk parameters. I didn't even know what risk parameters were. So for me, it's always 1% on one trade. And there are times when I have, extremely high probable setups, which occur very, very rarely. In those cases, I will risk 3-4%, maybe a bit more on those trades, but I've got a 95 to 98% probability on those trades, and that's obviously something that's discretionary. But for new traders, you can't risk more than 2% on your total trades. If you do that, you'll always be safe. You'll always come back to trade another day. So really, people call us traders. I really think we're risk managers. If we manage our risk, then everything else takes care of itself.
Right. And how long would you say it usually takes a beginner to start seeing benefits from trading? So if they've been sensible, they've got some education, how long would you say realistically takes a new trader?
I think it depends on, firstly, who you get to mentor you, because and the personality of the person, because some people have a very, very short learning curve. We've had people in our course who have become successful within 6 or 7 weeks. Other people have taken the same course in 12 weeks and they're not as so successful. So to be honest, I think it comes down to the fact that some people are willing to spend the time, the practice, the discipline to actually do it. And those people are the people who succeed. If you go in with a half-hearted attitude and you treat it like a hobby or a way to make a little bit of income, but you're not fully committed, you won't be successful, because it takes practice. It really takes perseverance. It takes sacrifice. So the people who have those qualities, those are the people who actually are successful. So again, How long would it take? If you have those qualities, and if you're fully committed, and if you have a proven strategy, if you have a mentor, if you have the correct education, I believe within 5 to 6 weeks, you can be seeing results.
Oh, great. That's good to hear, because a lot of people would think it would be much longer than that. But as you say, you get the right education, then you can shortcut your learning curve, and the results can be seen.
Absolutely.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
And what usually stops people from achieving results within training? So you're usually a beginner. What usually stops them? Why would they usually give up?
Why would they normally give up? Why would they usually give up? I think, again, people not following the rules and not following their plan. And when you break the rules, you suffer the consequences of losses. And once you see losses, that puts this into a negative gear, and you start thinking, what am I doing wrong? I can't do this. I'm not trained for this. I'm not built for this. And that sort of gets, into the spiral, which is very difficult to get out of, especially if you've got 5 or 6 losses in a row. For a rookie trader, that's difficult to take. So maybe the other thing would be not realizing or not understanding fully that you are a developing trader, and we're taking you from infancy to maturity. And so realizing that you might learn quickly, you might learn slowly. You're like a baby who's learning to speak. Don't expect to get it perfect. And so some people can realize, hey, I'm not learning as quickly as I want to. I'm not developing, and that can actually cause a lot of frustration. And frustration causes you to start making wrong decisions. So those are probably the 2 things, I think. And that's why if you have a mentor, someone who can, keep you on track, keep pulling you back into center, it can change that, as if compared to you trying to do that by yourself, which is what I did. It just, you go from hole to hole and you can't ever get out. But having someone to bring you back when those things come up, because they will, is incredibly invaluable.
Exactly, I agree, because everything I've ever done, I've mentored, has always cut my learning curve, and they always have a different perspective from you. So you're too busy to be in it, so you can't see what's happening, whereas they always see and able to push in the right direction.
So true.
I've got another question. What charting service do you use, and why?
Okay. I probably can't number how many I've actually used in the past. Now I use CTrader.
CTrader, great.
And CTrader is without a doubt the most amazing charting package I've ever used, and execution. So I use both execution and charting. I've used more that, like I said, more than I can count. Before that, the best charting package I've ever seen was Pro Real Time. That was an incredible package. However, with CTrader, you have unbelievably quick trade execution. So you can open, 6 positions, in 2 seconds with 0 slippage. So just unbelievable platform. And as far as I'm concerned, I'll never ever use anything else. It's the best I've used. Better than MP4, better than MP5, better than anything.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And what indicators do you find most useful for yourself?
I typically stay with the standard ones, but I probably don't trade them the way that most traders would trade them. Okay. Because the people who created indicators said you should only use their predictive function because they're all lagging. So I don't use them in a lagging sense. And I'll use extra things like TDI at times, RSI, stochastics, MACD. I'll look at CCI, moving averages. Moving averages are really important for me because they give you a large understanding of the broader context of market structure. So those are the normal ones that I use from day to day. Great.
And what's your average return per month, roughly for the last 12 months?
To get 4 to 6% a week is not uncommon. So, and before I met Greg, I would never have dreamed that was possible. To double your account was a dream for me. And And that's why when I started actually looking at his videos and just started to copy what he did, I was making an extra $1,000 a night. I thought, wow, this guy, he really knows what he's doing. And so since working with Greg, I've actually realized, and we have people in the university who are making 7-8% a week. And, to most people in the trading community, it sounds impossible. But I've actually realized it's not. So 4 to 6% a week is very, very common.
Great.
Yeah.
And can you remember one of your best trades that you placed and what sort of profit you made on it?
Yes, I do. It was on pound dollar, the beginning of April this year. And it was a Monday morning. And I was waiting for a certain setup. And I was in the kitchen making some breakfast, and I had my phone in my pocket with my alarm on because I didn't want to miss it before I ran back to my computer. And it did exactly what I thought. It was one of those opportunities where the banks manipulate the markets, and I was ready for it. I knew what they were going to do exactly, and I was ready for it. And I knew that all the other stars were aligned as far as the nuances of my strategy were concerned. And so this is one of those occasions where I loaded up my position to 4 or 5% risk. And sure enough, immediately moved in my favor, 70, 80 pips. I got out break even before that at about 30 pips, and I left my last 2 positions to run for 3 days, which is a part of the whole strategy. And I made about 16% in 2 days, 3 days, 16% in 3 days. So that was one of my best trades ever.
Can you remember how much profit you made on that?
Yes, I do. It was about 1,700.
That's good.
Yeah, US dollars.
Yeah. Right. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
What time frame do you typically look at?
I always believe it's important to have a compass chart to get perspective of the longer term market structure. So I will always look at the 4-hour chart, then go down to the 1-hour chart. I'll typically use the 1 hour or 30 minutes as my compass for my entry. And my entry will almost always be on a 5-minute chart to keep my risk tight. Sometimes it will be 15-minute chart, but most often it will be a 5-minute entry. And then, if I can keep my risk tight on that 5-minute entry, and then look for my my limit, on a 30-minute chart, then my reward to risk is extremely asymmetric.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
How long do you tend to hold your trade? Did you say 2 or 3 days, or?
Okay, so like I said before, I don't want to be trading all day, and so I want to be in and out as quick as possible. So I am a day trader per se, but when I get certain opportunities that come sometimes once a week, I will hold for a minimum of 3 days and a maximum of the close of business on Friday. So normally I will take that trade out within 3 days, but if it's going in my favor, I'll let it run to the rest of the week, but I won't hold positions over the weekend. So 5 days is my longest, but typically I'll be trading intraday.
Great. And what would you say the biggest lesson that you've learned, the biggest mistake you've made and you've learned from until now, your trade as a result of that big lesson?
My biggest mistake. Wow. Okay. Well, it was actually when I was beginning to trade about 19 years ago. And so I had about 10,000 US dollars in my account. And the broker that I was sort of learning from, didn't tell me about margin calls. And I didn't know what margin calls were. I never heard of them. And so I opened up a position. I went to sleep with no stop. And I just thought I could let it float, and woke up in the morning, had a margin call. And they closed about $7,000 of my account. It was gone overnight. And I was a lot younger, and $7,000 in one night was a big hit for me.
Wow.
And almost went into sort of a depression because that was a lot of money. And this was the beginning of trading for me. So that really rocked me. Obviously, that's something I wouldn't even consider now. So obviously, I learned from that immediately. The other mistake that sticks with me is holding a position overnight in a volatile market. And so I think I had a long Aussie yen position, and the stock market collapsed, and it gapped down 300 pips in the morning. And so I was out about, I think I lost about 4 or 5% on that trade. Yeah. So I learned from that. Never hold overnight in a volatile market.
Good stuff.
Good lesson to learn. Hard lesson to learn.
Exactly. Definitely. Well, thank you very much, Michael. That's been all of my lessons. Sorry, all of my questions so far, and it's been very informative. I really enjoyed it. It looked like you enjoyed reliving some of those moments. The good.
So maybe some of them I wish I could erase them.
So,
yeah, pleasure to chat with you, Andrew.
Yeah, you too. So definitely it's been a pleasure. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.